Hello, welcome to another episode of Layfamilyyarn Diaries. My name's Kelly and this is my podcast all about my knitting, crafting, creative endeavours, whatever rabbit hole I'm jumping down at that given time. And today it's all about socks. It's been a while, so if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back to say hello. And if you're new, you're so very welcome. Yeah, it's been a while. I seem to always say that, don't I? I think I always say that too. Maybe that is my introduction now. I used to welcome you and say, grab your favourite cup out of the cupboard and pop on your slippers and curl up on the sofa for a chat. Now I just seem to say, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a funny summer for us. How are you? Are you all well? I hope so. I know last time we spoke, I said I had such exciting plans for the channel to move forward and to spend more time here with you, and that is all still very true. It's just not been possible up until now. We're currently at our holiday home, our family holiday home. We've got a static caravan just over the Welsh border and we're enjoying a few days here, trying to recoup some energy. And yeah, it's been a tough few weeks. So what's been going on? So last time we spoke, we were, I think, in the middle of developing the new creative space at HQ. I think that, we must have been that. Let's just recap. We came back from Wonderwall, Wales in April, and we were back a few days and Nick got COVID and he was really quite poorly for about 3 weeks. He was in bed poorly for about a week, and then for the next couple of weeks he just had no energy. He did a couple of hours and then he would crash, which put a bit of pressure on us because we had our job. If you don't know, Nick and I run Layfamilyyarn, and we have just taken on the adjoining building to our dye studio, and it's to develop a creative hub, a space where we can just sit and socialise and get together and have knit and natters and workshops and run our retreats, all that sort of thing. And Nick, being the builder, he was the one doing that development. So yeah, post-COVID, June was a pretty tough month for Nick. The 30th of June, we had our first workshop booked, so we had a deadline. It had to be done. There was no if, buts, whys and mayfors. So yeah, we pushed on and got that done. Towards the latter part of that build, our daughter Megan started to become unwell. I say unwell because she wasn't really unwell, but she was having lots of headaches, eye strain, pain, a lot of pain in her eye, and it was just getting worse day on day. Been to the optician, got her eyes checked, all the usual things, nothing was seen there. Went to GP, he started her antibiotics for a sinus thing, which just, I don't know, didn't really fit right. And then on the Friday, she lost her vision in her left eye. So we were up at A&E all night. This was the night before our first workshop, when we were welcoming, how many guests did we have? 20 guests to run a workshop with Emma from the Vintage Sewing Box, which was just phenomenal. It was amazing. It was, our vision came to life and we were seeing what Nick and I knew the space could be, filled with laughter and people chatting and excited about craft and creativity in all aspects. It was just lovely. It was heartwarming. Conversely, we'd spent all night, I'd spent a lot of the night up at A&E with Megan, so yeah, it was, everything was juxtaposition through June and July. We had July rather, from the 30th of June onward, we had such great highs, and then they would crash down with equal lows. And every time we seemed to have a workshop that was amazing. And we had another one in the middle of July, and we met Nikki Franklin from the Stitchery came. And to sit and learn from people such as Emma, who is just a master at her craft, isn't she, with English paper piecing and quilting and hand stitching. I'm sure you all follow Emma, but if you don't, she's the Vintage Sewing Box here on YouTube and Instagram. But check out her channel, it's truly inspiring. It came up on a recommended feed for me about, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I watched a video, you know, and it just kind of auto clicks on and you end up watching it. Oh, and it was just magical. Just, yeah, it was amazing, and I'd sort of binge watched them all. So to sit in the room with Emma and Nikki Franklin and to learn their craft there and see their skills, and to demystify the work in so many ways, particularly with Nikki Franklin. I'd looked at her kits in the past, I've bought many of them, and I was like, it's beyond me, it's not within my scope. But once you learn a couple of the basic stitches, you can look at a kit now and you think, oh, that's just that, and it really demystified it for me. So we had enormous highs in that regard, but at the same time there was always an undercurrent of worry with regards to Megan, because she was in and out of hospital for that whole 2-week period. Where are we at? Yeah, most of July Megan was in hospital actually. She's been diagnosed with something called NMO, neuromyelitis optica. It's a rare autoimmune disease. Google it if you want to, but don't if you don't. It's basically she's got an antibody in her blood plasma that attacks the central nervous system, and in her case it attacked her optic nerve and she lost her vision. She was completely blind in the left eye for about 4 weeks. It has now returned, thankfully, which is the main thing. She's now on treatment and medication for life, you know, all the things. So her vision has returned, which is just lovely. But I tell you what, that kid is amazing. Throughout her stay in hospital, she knit, she embroidered, she crocheted, she coloured, she did puzzle books, you know, with one eye. It's amazing. She's amazing. She's inspirational. Bless her. It's been hard, I'm not gonna lie, it's been really hard. We've had lots of tears. I mean, no parent wants to hear that their child has an incurable autoimmune disease, do they? And yeah, we were told at one point she had MS, and that completely floored us, Meg and I. We had a really difficult 24-hour period, but then they said no, it's not. But yeah, it's been a hard month. Oh, cheers everyone. I no longer drink Pepsi Max. That's a turn up for the books, isn't it? 3 weeks today I am dry of Pepsi Max. I don't say that to mimic or to mock the term being dry or clean or sober. I was truly addicted to Pepsi Max, like truly addicted. And I couldn't go to bed not knowing I had it in the house for the next morning when I woke up. And I just decided that was it. I was coming off it. So yeah, I no longer drink it at all. And I don't think I will. I think like any addict, if I have it once, I will be straight back on it. So yeah, it is water and blackcurrant cordial. I am that wild. So yeah, that's why I haven't been around. It's just been really tough. And yeah, and as a self-employed family, I was really blessed. I stayed with Megan 24/7, and the hospital were really good. They let me sleep with her. I say sleep. I sat in her hospital chair all night while she slept. But they were really good and supportive in that sense. They did allow me to do that, which was lovely, because Megan was really scared and, you know, really vulnerable. Although she's an adult, you know, she was really vulnerable. And they recognised that and the severity of what she was going through. So they did allow me to stay with her 24/7. But it was exhausting. Utterly exhausting. And then, you know, in the background to all that, you're conscious that, don't get me wrong, at the time, work didn't even enter my head. It's not important. But then when you do get back to work, you do have to catch up on everything that you've neglected because you were needed elsewhere. So we had a mad week, 10 days, I'd say, of getting all our autumn countdown advent style boxes dyed, packaged, shipped. But we did it, you know. I'm really proud of Nick and I, actually, throughout all this really difficult time, that we didn't go back on any of our commitments. We weren't late with anything. We didn't cancel anything, which would have been so easy to do. And the one workshop particularly, there were all my friends were on it. I knew near enough everybody on there personally, you know, within a close circle, and everybody was so gracious and was like, we'll cancel. But it was important to Nick and I that we didn't, you know. And yeah, so we were really proud of achieving that during a difficult time. So yeah, that's why I've been away. I've had quite a bit of time to knit. The first day Megan was in hospital, I knit a fair bit, and then it was all dependent, you know, it was all fluctuating. There were days when there were days in hospital that we felt as if we were given this beautiful gift of time together. And in between IV medication, Megan was absolutely fine and she didn't need anything. And we truly felt blessed with this gift that we were able to sit together and knit and chat and stitch. And we hadn't had that precious time like that to connect together for quite some time. So yeah, it felt really, really positive. It was a really nice experience. I have quite fond memories from it, actually, and in a really bizarre way. And the one day we got into quite a nice routine, and Megan would have breakfast and a shower, and I'd go and get something from the little cafe down the road, down the corridor. And then we started going for a walk around the hospital grounds then each day to get some fresh air and some exercise, you know. And then we'd come back and we'd do a couple of hours stitching, then we'd watch a movie in the afternoon, do some knitting, and Meg could have a nap or whatever. So I got quite a lot of knitting done then. And then there were times when she was having procedures and treatments done that were really painful or psychologically traumatic for Meg, and so the knitting went down and it was all cuddles, and so it was all very up and down. Anyway, all that to say, I've finished a few things. So it's all socks today. I've got a few other bits to share with you, but I figured I'll show you that next week. So the first pair of socks, I think I've shown you these before. These were or are our Hazy Summer Days collection. So you got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 10-gram minis, and then a full 100 Gans game of this sort of icy blue. I made these socks. They're not blocked. I've put them on a sock blocker, but they're not actually blocked. These are, it's a pretty much a plain vanilla sock. I was inspired by Kay's recipe from the Crazy Sock Lady. She does a lot of socks like this, doesn't she, where she throws in some stripes. And I love our pick and mix minis, our 10-gram minis. They inspire me more than full skeins. I just love them. And I wanted to play around with colour combinations. So I knit all these on a 2.5mm 64 stitch 2x2 cuff. And I did 10 rows of each of the minis before going into the foot. I popped in a, what's it called? Denise Earth Tones Girl. You're all screaming at the telly now, aren't you? Shadow wrap heel. I've been wanting to try this for ages. Denise Earth Tones Girl's podcast is a favourite of mine, and if anybody ever comes into the shop and wants to know where to learn socks online, it's either Denise or Kay, Crazy Sock Lady Kay, who we send them to. I just, for online free tutorial classes, I just think they're phenomenal. And Denise has such a lovely, patient way of teaching. She does everything in real time as well. Nothing's sort of sped up or time-lapsed, or, you know. So yeah, this is a shadow wrap heel. I really enjoyed knitting it. Really enjoyed knitting it. I don't know how it's going to fit. I haven't worn these. I haven't tried them on. So I've tried them on, but I don't know how they're going to wear. But the construction and the knitting of it was lovely, and I would urge you to have a try if you've not done it before. That's what I'm doing at the minute. I'm just trying different heels just to see how things fit and work. I typically always do a heel flap and gusset. I was knitting down the foot and I got into a lovely rhythm. I added in some stripes and I quickly realised at that point these were going to be way too big for me. So I carried on, worked out the row count, so I've made them for Nick. So I'm feeling ever so smug that I've got a pair of Christmas socks ready for Nick. And these are somewhat in his football team colours. He supports Aston Villa. Well, him and Megan do. And they're claret and blue is their colour. So it's somewhat within the wheelhouse of his football team. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how they fit for Nick and if he enjoys them. We'll see. That was the first pair I finished. I was still inspired at that point using all the little 10-gram pick and mix minis, and Kay from the Bakery Bears has brought out a new pattern called the Fairground socks. I'd seen it on her podcast and thought it was lovely. The pattern is inspired or written with self-striping yarn in mind, but whenever I see self-striping I see pick and mix minis. So I thought I can do that. So I picked again 5 colours, and then I just got an undyed as my sort of main colour, if you like. And these are they. These are the Fairground socks. It's sort of an old shale lace pattern. It's lovely. Kay's patterns are always so well written and simplistic, and I mean that with the highest degree of compliment in mind. I enjoy, I've spoke about this before, haven't I, where Nick needs to be truly engaged in a project and to have to be mentally involved to really get joy from a knitting project, and to be able to switch his mind off and to relax he needs to engage it in another way. I'm the opposite. I don't want to have to think overtly. For me, the joy of a pattern is just having a couple of rows that give me that little something, you know, that little peak of interest without having to think too hard. And I think Kay achieves that perfectly with her patterns. They're usually a 4-row repeat, and maybe one of them you have to think slightly. And that to me is genius. And this one's no different really. I say it's the sort of old shale lace. Isn't it lovely? I did, just in case you're inspired to do, pick out some scraps from your scrap bin or your leftovers, or indeed treat yourself to some pick and mix minis. I did 2 repeats of the contrast colour, 1 pattern repeat in the cream, 2 repeats, 1 repeat, 2 repeats, and so on. Carrying on with my sort of exploration into different heel types, I did Kay's butterfly heel. Okay, it's not a short row heel, but it's not a heel flap gusset either. So it's clever construction, and again, I really enjoyed the knitting. Again, don't know how it's going to fit, and certainly don't know how it's going to wear. It feels, same with the shadow wrap heel, because unlike a heel flap and gusset, you haven't got that sort of slip stitch across the back of the heel. You're almost losing a layer of fabric. Does that make sense? So I'm not sure if these will wear as well, but I guess time will tell. Having said all that, I've never had, what's that? Oh, it's all right, there was a message from Megan. I've never had a hole in my heel. My wear tends to be on the ball of my foot there, so perhaps it won't be an issue. We'll see. The joy of having an extensive sock collection is that you don't get holes in them so much because they get rotated more, don't they? So I finished those. One of these heels, we start to go into dodgy territory now of making mistakes. I mean, it's fine, I don't care. Which one was it? I remember I was knitting these at about 2 AM in the morning, the heel flap. Megan was fast asleep. She'd not had a good day, bless her, and she'd fallen to sleep, and I promised her I'd stay awake so she could sleep. Which one is it now? Oh, I can't tell. Maybe it's not so bad as I thought. One of the count numbers went off on the heel and it went really wonky. I think it's this one. Yeah, look, can you see? Can you see how the angles are different? Maybe you can't tell so much. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I went off on the heel count, on the stitch count, and I say I was knitting it in the middle of the night with just an overhead light, but it's fine, doesn't matter. They were really fun and bright to work on. Really good. That's the Fairground socks. I feel really out of practice doing this. I feel really funny. But I figured if I don't come and do it today, I've been meaning to come and film for ages, and it's a weird thing. When you don't do it, you lose, I don't know. I don't know if it's confidence or I don't know. It just feels strange again. It feels strange and awkward when you come back and do it. Is it that sock that's off? Maybe it's that one. Is it that one? Oh, I don't know. One of the heels is all wonky anyway. It doesn't matter which, does it? I've got another pair now. This pair, lovely Megan made for me. She too was inspired by all my pick and mix minis and my stripes and the joy I was finding from them, and she asked me to put her some colours together and a little kit, so we did. We've done this one. I picked the pattern for her as well. It's called Texture Me, and it's spelled text as in text message, TEXT, in brackets URE, close bracket, me, Texture Me. Aren't they lovely? I'll put a link in the show notes below. In fact, I'll do it for all of them. I'll link all the patterns that I've used in the show notes below. And again, for these, I picked 5 pick and mix minis. And then the main colour is Storm. It's got an eye of partridge heel, which almost mimics the the texture here, doesn't it? All the pattern. Just lovely. I love these. They're my favourites. I've got plans to make more of these. I've picked some Pick and Mix minis. I've picked peaches and creams. I don't think I've brought them with me here on holiday. I haven't. It's peaches and creams and some coral and burnt umber, and I want to do those stripes with like a chestnut brown sock. I think that'll look really cool. I don't often block socks. I used to block them all the time. I haven't particularly been engaging with Instagram recently, and for some time really, I don't know, I feel more at home here on YouTube with you guys. I feel like this is my space more. For some reason I feel more connected here than I do on Instagram. I feel, which is going to sound crazy because I know in YouTube terms I am just a teeny tiny single cell amoeba, and that's absolutely fine because I found my people here, and I feel connected, and I feel we're growing our community and our friendship, which is just lovely. I feel on Instagram that I'm just this tiny fish in a huge pond that just doesn't get seen, or I don't know. I don't feel connected there. I haven't for a long time, as a person personally, and it's really difficult because as a business, that's where we've grown most of our business from, is from Instagram. And don't get me wrong, I've made some amazing friends and connections there. I really have, true friends, and I am grateful for the people there, but I just find it challenging to be there, which, when that's part of my job, is really awkward. Whereas here, I don't feel that at all. Somehow I feel, I don't know, I just feel really comfortable and at ease here. And that, sort of harps back to my plan, is to try and grow this space a bit more and develop what we have here and grow our friendships and our communities here on YouTube. So I do still have the exciting plans that I had last time. What was I saying? Oh, I still waffle, don't I? What was I saying? Oh yeah, I don't really block my socks anymore. I figure your feet do that when you wear them. I used to always do it when I used to show, I don't even show my knitting on Instagram anymore. When I used to show my knitting on there, when it was a platform for me to share my knitting rather than show work, I always blocked them. But in recent months, years, I haven't blocked my knitting. For some reason I did block these. I think they needed it with the texture. And I don't regret it, but I do like that tightness on the cuff that you get when you don't block your knitting, as opposed to this. I mean, it's nearly like an inch bigger, isn't it? And this is the same stitch count, 64 stitches. And there's almost an inch there, isn't there? That's one of the reasons I don't block them. I like that. And these aren't a big blocker, but they're all the same. Even if I got a small blocker, that top part is much bigger. And that's one of the reasons. Well, the most reason, really. I prefer the aesthetic of that. How do you overcome that? Do you block all your socks? Let me know in the comments, would you? I always used to. And I do like the look of a sock on a sock blocker. It's just when you wet block it, it seems to stretch it out so much. You see, like these two, they look nice, don't they? And then you pop that one up and it looks huge. I remember doing that. Do you remember one time I showed you two socks? One I'd blocked and one I hadn't. And the difference was enormous. It's on here, isn't it? Really does take any negative ease out of a sock, which I think is important in a sock. You need it quite snug, don't you? So I don't know what the answer is. What do you do? Do you just lie them flat to dry as opposed to using a physical sock blocker? Let me know, would you? I'd be interested to know. So they're the 3 socks I've finished, or we have finished, I should say. I have finished one other. Where's that one? Oh, I gave it to my dad for Father's Day. I did him exactly this, but in different colours. And I gave it him for Father's Day. And he's overjoyed. Hasn't worn them yet. He's keeping them for winter. I have another pair of socks on my needles. Again, I started this one. Oh, blooming heck. All my stitches are coming off. Do you know that's twice I've done that now? I don't think this sock's destined. It's almost telling me, frog me, I don't want to be on your needles, because twice I've dropped all the stitches. There we go. We're back on. I started this sock again in hospital. It's another Bakery Bears pattern. It's the crunkled socks. I've wanted to do it for ages, and I wanted exactly what I said before. I wanted a simple sock, 3 rows knit, 1 row some sort of pattern texture, and I knew that this pattern would be perfect. I also wanted to use one of our new autumn colours. Oh, that's just reminded me. All these socks I have been knitting, and the ones I did for Dad, concurrently, 2 at a time, concurrently-ish. Typically, I just knit 1 whole sock. Oh, what's going on there? 1 whole sock, carry on down, and then sometimes I knit the second sock. But I am guilty of having second sock syndrome. I can very easily fall into the trap. Very easily fall into the trap of not doing the second sock. And it was working really well for me. I seem to fly down these socks. I mean, these are for a man's size UK 10 foot, and as is Dad. And they seem to knit them in no time at all. Ah, it's my mum. So I knit the cuff and then a couple of repeats on each sock, and then finish the leg on both socks, did the heels, both socks, you know. And that really, really worked for me, and I will definitely do that again. And I intended to do it with this pair. I've split the ball into 2, and then for some reason, I really don't know what or why, it didn't happen. I think we got moved different wards, and when I started these, we were in a waiting room to be seen by somebody else, and pardon me, and then we got moved, and so yeah, it just didn't happen. So this is the colour, which I really like, and as an autumn colour, I just think it's perfection. I think Nick's done a cracking job, and I think the crunkled sock shows the yarn and the texture perfectly, doesn't it? This sock's riddled with mistakes. And I'm okay with that. Can you see there? I completely went off pattern, whereas these little crunkles are supposed to offset each other. There's about 4 here, look, all in a row that don't offset. We've got pearls where there should be knits, knits where there should be pearls. I look at these now and I can see exactly where the stresses were in that day. Maybe that's why I've not been inclined to finish them. They're on this base is our mohair sock, and oh, I love it. It's one of my favourite bases to knit socks on. Has been for years. It doesn't typically, or it never really sold in the shop. It didn't sell well at all. So I used to keep it in stock for me, but rarely listed it on the website. But recently we've been using it in our offering as an option on all our club yarns, and it's started to sell a lot better. I think people are starting to appreciate the qualities of it. I love the colour. This colour's not out yet. It's one of our new ones that we'll be launching soon. I really like it though. I don't know why I've not finished it. I'm about at the point where I need to do the toe now on the first sock, but it's just not been calling to me. But I've brought it away for a few days, maybe just to sit in a bag. Maybe it'll get some love. I don't think it will actually, because I'm really enjoying the project I'm working on, which I can't show you just yet because it's a test knit, and until the 1st of September I can't show you. I'll be able to soon. I've been doing some sewing. That's all the knitting I've brought to show you this time. Oh, sorry. No, it isn't. Got another one. This is Nick's knitting. I mean, how bonkers are these socks? I'm so proud of him, you know. He's a fantastic knitter. He really is a very competent knitter. He's never ever been interested in knitting socks. It's just not been his, not been his jam at all, not interested. And then when he saw that Stephen West was doing the mystery, he really wanted to have a go. So this is his first ever pair of socks, his first ever time using double point needles. I think he's done a phenomenal job. He's not happy with them. He's really critical, as a lot of us are of our own work. I'm not sure, you know, how these, I think as a piece of knitwear, as a striking piece of knitwear, I think they're undeniably striking, aren't they, when you look at it like that? They're fun. I'm not sure. I mean, they're massive, aren't they? Look how long that leg is. I mean, that's not blocked. That is massive. It's almost like a Christmas stocking. In fact, I've seen somebody do that on Instagram. They went up to a 4mm needle, used DK yarn, followed the pattern, and they've got this ginormous Christmas stocking. It looks amazing. One of the features of the pattern on the gusset, it's on the gusset pickup and decreases there, is a cable. You see? Well, you can't see very well, but take my word for it, there's a cable on either side. I'm not sure how comfortable that's going to be. Equally, the texture on the top of the sock, you have this slip stitch mock. Can you see that's quite raised? Again, when that's on your boots, on the top of your shoe, I'm not sure how comfortable that's going to be. I'm not sure. Nor is Nick. He's knit these for himself. And initially I said that really long leg will be perfect, because at work in the winter it gets incredibly cold. And even in the cold, we have to have all the windows open for the steam and condensation and things. So warm socks and warm clothes we really value. And because these are all sort of slip stitches, it's almost like double thickness. They're really thick. So that'll be perfect under your boots. But I'm just not sure how comfortable that's going to be on the top of your foot there. We'll see. I mean, he'll wear them as house socks if not. But this has just been about the process for Nick. It's been about the learning and the experience. And he's enjoying it. Socks aren't for him. I don't think he's going to be rushing to do any more. But he's really pleased that he's learnt the skill of using double points. I think he'll knit sleeves on double points going forward. He currently uses my little sort of 9-inch circulars, and he finds them really hard on his hands, which I totally understand for sleeves on jumpers and things, but I think he'll knit them on double points now. Same as when he's closing the top of a hat, I think he'll use double points. So it's not been a practice that hasn't been worthwhile. It's been really worthwhile. What else have I been doing? I mentioned earlier that we had Nikki Franklin come to stay. Can you see Jeff on the bed there? yeah, Nikki came to stay and ran a workshop. Oh, it was so good. I fall into the trap. I was talking to my friend Jilly, as Jilly makes. She had a similar issue for thought process to me, that we have a couple of these kits, and when we're good enough, we'll try them. When we're more accomplished and when we're practiced more, we'll go on to them, because don't spoil them. But how do you become accomplished and practiced unless you do them? So we just decided, look, let's just crack on. Let's just have a go and actually see the progress. And if at the top left corner the stitches are really ropey and at the bottom right they're amazing, it just shows progression, doesn't it? And you can tangibly see that through the piece, and I think that is beautiful. So the piece that Nikki taught at the workshop was a new kit that she's launched this year, and it's this sampler. It's called the Trellis. Let me hold a bag behind it so the light doesn't shine through. It's called, what's it called now? Floral Trellis sampler. Isn't it lovely? And it's actually been a really, really nice piece to learn and to practice. Some of my favourite stitches. Oh, I love doing these little chaps. I think these are called bullion knots. Aren't they lovely, these little buds? Love doing those. I love doing French knots. The pattern, Nikki suggests doing this sort of off-white and this blue, this baby blue. I popped a few pink in mine because, well, why wouldn't you? I love this one, this woven rose. And if I'd have seen that beforehand, I would have thought that was so difficult. Oh, and this is an open fly stitch. I love doing that. I love these. This one I really enjoyed. This was my first go at satin stitch, so I'm really pleased with that. I've got to do the French knots now. I enjoy that. What's this one? Oh, these are some more of those bullion knots. Oh, I love them. I think they're so fun. They're my favourite. There's one on here to do a bullion rose. I haven't had a go at that yet. Oh, they're lazy daisies, I think. Enjoyed those. So yeah, I've just been kind of having a go, doing sort of half an hour at a time, an hour, and really enjoying the process. I really enjoy that close fly stitch on the leaves. Oh, I don't know if you can see. Haven't done any for a week or two, I'll be honest. When Meg was in hospital, yeah, we would do that in the morning for about an hour and then we'd go on to something else. And I got into a lovely rhythm and I carried that on when we came home. But since then I haven't done any, for no other reason. It's just been time and exhaustion. I reached a point where if I sat down I would literally fall asleep, like literally. We'd sit and watch TV in the evening and I would be gone. I think in partly because I was just sheer exhausted, and partly because of giving up Pepsi Max. I've given up my only source of caffeine. But I'm finding a better way now. I'm doing better. So I've brought that on holiday with me to do a little bit of stitching on. The other thing I've been stitching or sewing, oh, I haven't got it here, but I've got a different one I can show you. I made this book cover ages ago. I'm not sure if I've shown you on here or not. I made this. Oh, it's such a long time ago. And then, oh, let can't show you that page. It's got personal details on, and then it's just got what do you call it there? Flaps. Are they the right words? Flaps. Oh, I loved it. And then I've recently made a load more. We do at work, what are they called? Seasonal treasure boxes. It's like a quarterly box, and you get 10 gram minis, you get a sock set, and then something handmade, and you know, something like that. And each month I've made something, be it lavender bags and candles. One month, what did I make last month? Last month I made these notebooks for everybody, which is lovely. They were smaller than this, but the same principle. What did I do the month before? Oh no, it's only been 2, spring and summer. We're coming into autumn now, the autumn boxes. I've got to decide what to make for the autumn boxes. So I've had fun sewing those. That's been nice. And then they just tie with the clothes. I think that's it. Oh, that was 45 minutes. I feel all discombobulated, so I'm sorry if I sound a bit distracted. I just feel a bit, I don't know, it just takes a minute to get back used to things, doesn't it? I'll be back next week because I've got I finished something to show you, and some other little bits and bobs that I didn't bring with me to show you this time. But it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back chatting with you. So some of the plans I've got going forward are, I want to start doing some giveaways. Recently, my parents live with us, and I've been sorting out cupboards and my craft space particularly, and just making room and organising things. And I've got a whole lot of stuff that I've got put aside to do as for giveaways. But I'm really hesitant to do it on here or on Instagram because there are so many scammers out there, aren't there now? And it just breaks my heart when people fall for it. And it doesn't matter how many times I say, I will never ask for your bank details. You'll never be asked to pay for postage. Please don't fall for this. Don't look out for that. Somebody inevitably emails me and says, I gave somebody my bank details. And it just breaks my heart. And it just doesn't feel safe. So I've been pondering on how to come over that. The other thing I want to do for the channel is I want to upgrade my equipment. I either phone on my iPad or my phone currently, and a tiny tripod. This one, that's it. I want to buy a bigger tripod, a proper one, and I'd love to buy a proper camera, vlogging camera, but they're not cheap. And again, I try and think of ways to raise the revenue for that, to help it fund itself, that sort of thing. So what I am going to do is I'm always going to put my video here on YouTube for free. It does have the monetized adverts. I don't let them play in the middle of videos. They just play at the beginning, I think, which earns me about £5 a month for 2 months. Nothing really, it doesn't earn anything, which is fine. What I am going to start to do is I've opened a new tier on our Patreon account. We've been running Patreon for about 18 months, and I'm going to open a new tier on there, which is a $1 tier, $1, £1, and I will put all the YouTube content on there, so that will be ad-free then. And if you want to support the channel and support us as a family and enable me to move forward, I'm going to run the giveaways over there. I don't know if I've said that right. I think so. Nothing's going to change here. The videos will always be put up here. I won't run the giveaways here just because it doesn't feel safe, and I just can't bear it when people get scammed or fall for it, or the distress it causes. And it causes me so much stress and worry. It's just not worth it. So yeah, I'm going to open a $1 tier, which is the lowest amount that Patreon will let me do, I think. Pretty sure it is, over on Patreon. And then if you want to support the channel financially with a £1 a month donation, then all the content that I post here will also go over there. That's it. I feel really awkward saying that. Anyway, it's lovely to be back, and I'll see you next week. Take care.